AllReasonNoLogic.
Battle started.
Welcome back to Beyond All Reason, where today's 1 vs 1 match might just outdo your favourite TV drama. Pigz, the man with sort of strategies, goes head to head with Black Death in their second bout. Mr. Death, arguably the underdog with almost no multiplayer experience, is up 1-0 in their face-off after a nice snipe last game. Will Pigz off-the-wall tactics throw Black off balance, or will Black prevail in the face of chaos? One thing's for sure, we're here for a wild ride. I'm Twig alongside Pradith and Tank Tom. We're here to break down every move.
So, jumping right in, Pigz is going for a vehicle start, which is unusual for him, but I like to see it. Unfortunately for him, he's started on two 0.7s, which is an odd choice for this map. Very, very low metal income, which is not what you need for vehicles. So, jumping in with him playing as Armada, we will see how he matches up against Black Death's Armada bot start. Going heavily into the LLTs, I think this map will favor Pigz even harder than the previous one did, because the amount of defense required here to defend your base is a semicircle. The LLT investment will be giant, so if Pigz doesn't sacrifice his units to the LLTs again, he should be able to build up a strong start, and in particular jumping in with shell shockers as a way to deal with those towers. This should heavily favor Pigz, as long as this metal start doesn't do him in.
We can see that both the players are struggling for energy with their initial build queues.
Yep, this is a good map for wind with a 20 max and a 5.7% wind risk, so wind is almost certainly the build in this case. Some early rovers coming out from Pigz. I hope he comes in from the bottom end, because there is no defenses there.
And there they go.
Yep, and knowing from the last game that Black Death enjoys a lot of static defense, Pigz has gone out very early with a builder and nothing to defend it in order to get those mexes. There's a couple of 3s out here, which would be great to get on this map, particularly when going vehicles. Unfortunately, these rovers are coming in from the top side of the map, so they will run straight into those LLTs if he tries to push into them after discovering them. But a few are heading down to the low ground. That's really good. I actually like seeing players come in from both angles at the same time. And something to note is that this map, you're able to start anywhere on the left or right side, which means that both players are unsure of the starting locations of each other.
With these starting locations, my money's on Black Death this game. What's your opinion, Tank Tom?
It'll probably depend on the first engagement or two. If Pigz throws his units into LLTs, I'm going to give it to Black Death. If he manages to get them through, which it looks like might be happening shortly here.
Yep.
And can deal some significant damage to Black Death's eco, then it'll probably go to Pigz.
Unfortunately, the first combat's going to be out of Black Death, pushing in and potentially taking out Pigz's... Nope, he's not going to take out the builder. He's running straight in for Pigz's defense, for Pigz's base. Pigz getting his comm in place. He's probably going to lose another mex, that top mex, but he should be able to clear up those pawns with the comm. And that is cleaned up with minimal damage. I don't mind that he lost those 2 mexes, because he still has the constructor going out building more, so only a very, very minor setback. At 0.7 and 1.7 mexes, it takes around... It doesn't take very long for a mex to pay for itself, so minimal metal loss there. Large amount of pawns pushing across. It looks like Black Death has learnt from his previous game that the pawns are better off on the offensive than on the defensive, and he's just seen that Black Death has nothing to defend.
And the radar's gone up from Black Death, so he can actually see what's on the map now.
Yep. Pigz desperately trying to get a couple of LLTs down. Pathing by the comm is going to be massively detrimental. D-Gun's essentially the only way that's going to stop this force. Let's see whether he gets good D-Guns or if this turns into a pawn base destruction. Ah, that was terrible.
It'd be good to see the pawns either in range to damage the LLT
Yeah.
or running away from it rather than traversing through its range.
Pigz very smartly going straight
potentially.
for the reclaim. That's going to fund his. That's going to fund his
Yeah.
tanks. So I would say that we are now in Pig's favored territory.
Yeah, the one advantage that Black has, he's got 400 more metal now produced. That is 200 that was just reclaimed from Pigs to claim back a little bit of that disadvantage he got from that starting location with
Yep.
0.7s.
Disappointing that Pigz wasn't able to use those rovers before the LLTs came up and closed the base. A simple fight command while the combat, during the combat, would have made potentially a huge difference. Sniping those two metal extractors, potentially the energy converters. Pigz pushing in and losing
LLTs.
units to LLTs for no reason whatsoever. Very, very unfortunate. Just pushing the game back into Black Death's favor. Gotta be smart with your engagements. Blitzers are not for killing LLTs. Blitzers are for running rampant in enemy bases. If you'd run across that back corner, you would have only been in range of the one LLT, and you would have been able to take out the wind.
Would like to see Black break off 1 or 2 pawns in each direction just to scout out what's happening there, and he will come across more than half of Pig's metal income from those top mixers.
Pig's trying to put down 2 Dragon Claws up in
12.
that top corner. That is a hefty, hefty metal investment. And I think that is a bit of a mistake. But
Whilst Black Death hasn't got the expansion going necessarily at this stage, he's still relatively even on eco, and he's definitely got the advantage when it comes to energy.
Yep. Metal income is still approximately 400 ahead for Black Death, but again, if you look at these Dragon Claws are 340 metal, so putting 2 of them in increases that metal deficit to 1,000. That said,
it's an odd placement as well.
That said, Black Death has 10 LLTs at a cost of 850 metal, so both players putting a lot of metal into defenses, putting a lot of potential metal into defenses.
Well, we'll add the Sneaky Pete currently being built by Piggs is in Vale of the radar tower that Black's built. So once you put this Sneaky Pete down, it's not going to hide the fact that units were already built up in that location.
Yep. So unfortunate but that's the way the game works. Once you've got vision of a unit, even after it's of a building, even after it's hidden by radar detection, you still know where it was. Units, on the other hand, can move, so they're no longer marked on the map. Pig's going for his geothermal. Definitely needed considering the power deficit, and getting his build templates down in the back. Has not rebuilt the close mexes to him. I'd like to see him do that, considering he is metal starved. Though being metal and energy starved is actually kind of okay.
Metal
Black
starved,
Death
but actually it's an advantage by 2 metal per second.
Yep. So
Black Death's done a good job of protecting his constructor
Mhm.
on its way out. So Pigz isn't going to be able to just send a unit or 2 to go and ravage that economy that Black Death has going so far.
Yep.
Whereas if we look at Pigz' mexes, a single pawn would be able to take out 4 of them with no contest.
Yep. I actually prefer
and we can see that
the way Pigz has done it. If we notice the way that these two players have been playing, they don't actually tend to clear up the map. So the LLTs and the pawns are, I wouldn't say they're a wasted investment, but they're 2 approaches to the same problem.
as we say this, Black Death does have some pawns doing a scouting run across all of the mexes to see whether Pigz has built them or not.
Yep.
He's about to find out that the middle of the base has been, I suppose, held by Pigs, but those units will go down really quickly. I don't know if anyone in this game's realised that the middle has mexes worth 3. There's 2 of them there, which are worth trying to capture.
3, in
Black's
fact.
on his way to
Oh,
one of
3,
the
there are
3s
3.
now.
Yep.
And a 4th one down the south as well.
Yep. So those are going to be a big boon. The tanks starting to build up in numbers, but again, we're funneling a lot of metal into... we're funneling a lot of metal not into army at the moment, and that is a reasonably consistent theme, and it's why a lot of these engagements tend to tip one way or another. Pig's about to get down into Black Death. Oh no, not quite far enough. The move command is not quite far enough, so that LLT is going to get up. Thankfully, with the surround bonus, those blitzers do manage to take it out, and they're going to get the builder too, which is great. That'll slow down Black Death quite a lot for the cost of very, very little. And he's going to take out those pawns as well.
I like the inclusion of the Janus into Pig's composition. They will do very well against this big ball of pawns that have been building up for Black Death. He did get the win in the last game with the ball of pawns, and maybe he's feeling a little bit confident with that, but Pig's has come up with the perfect solution, and that is the Janus.
Yep. I like that Pigz has taken the blitzers out of his build queue. Blitzers and Janus do not mix very well. With a Janus force, you want to constantly be firing off those missiles and then driving away, firing off those missiles, driving away. They've got their high damage, good AoE, but very slow fire rate. And having the stouts nearby is great to soak up some of that fire to give more shots out of those Janus. Pawns looks like they're getting ready to move forward or just a reposition.
I like what we're seeing from Pigz. He's going into an air transition, unfortunately doing it whilst the Geo's still building. If he just finished off that Geo, it would be a much smoother transition. He's also not taking advantage of converting all the energy he's earning right now with only the 1 converter up.
Yes.
And that's the only reason that Black Death is staying in there with an eco is that conversion he's got going.
Here we go. Black pawns coming out. First Janus shot goes into a tick, so great absorption of the Janus shot. But we're getting a couple of missiles heading on in and doing devastating damage to those pawns. Pawns trying to flank around. Black Death has separated his pawns from his Centurions, and he's running them into LLTs. This is going to be rough. Pigz, however, not following in with the army, allowing those pawns to push on through. This could have been...
those pawns can get into the base and then take a Janus shot. The AoE does damage to everything as well.
Yep, and now not reacting to the Centurions. Geo is going down. That is quite a lot of Centurions. But they should be cleaned up by those tanks, particularly the amount of damage the Janus deal. Unnecessary D-gun, but cleaned up. And that is most of Black Death's threat now fallen to the wayside, and with the income difference as it is at the moment and the huge amount of reclaim that Pigz has, this has just turned into Pig's game to lose.
Having said that, the energy disadvantage he's currently got, you're going to want to see him get that Geo back up quick smart, or at least get a lot more energy, maybe some advanced solar going. Now, I dare say that Black is reacting now to scouting that air plant, and he's throwing up a chainsaw straight away, which will easily take out the T1 Armada aircraft, whether it's the gunships or the bombers. What are the bombers called? I always forget. I never use them, the Stormbringers.
When your enemy throws away their army like that and donates it to you, and you know that you're on a metal advantage because you've controlled most of the map, that's not the time to get fancy with an air transition. Right now you have a bulk metal advantage. You have the ability to build shell shockers that will outrange LLTs. You have the ability to build stouts and Januses, which will absolutely stomp any tier 1 force. This is the time to pump as much as possible into the ground lab, reclaim as much as possible, and get a damn build turret, which it's 15 minutes into the game and he still doesn't have. This has turned it, like, Pigz is throwing his advantage away by going into this air as is. especially knowing that it's been scouted. So this is outright. This is a bad move.
And Pigz
Yeah.
has got his double Dragon's Claw down on that southern side as well.
Yep, more
If I was
metal.
Piggs, I'd
And
just use the this air as a defensive unit rather than offensive. I'd keep it away from the base, and if Black tries to push again, those gunships do quite well against any pawns or rocketeers, but the Centurions have a light AA.
yeah,
Well, it's not a light AA, it's their laser. The laser does hit, but doesn't do much damage to the air.
Pigz has also built a ground lab, a bot lab, which means that on top of throwing all of his metal away with an air transition that was scouted, he's also triple labbing. So any advantage that he had, he's
And
invested
with that,
into.
he didn't manage.
He's invested
Take out
poorly.
He didn't even manage to take out a single wind turbine with that
Yep.
attack.
So unfortunately, if you're trying an air transition and it gets scouted, just it's time to move on. And another important thing is mixing bots and tanks is never a great strategy, because the bots tend to, particularly pawns, have a closer range, and they take splash damage from your stouts, they take splash damage from your Janus, and if you have them, they'll take splash damage from your shell shockers. If you're in tanks and you're not struggling from maneuverability issues, then stay in tanks. And we're
I'm
getting
surprised
another
by-
bot lab coming up for
Yeah, the
Pigz.
decision 3 labs. I do like that he reclaimed his
Air lab,
aircraft plant,
yep.
but I would have liked to have seen him just invest that metal back into tanks and push with those tanks, and
Yep.
just stick with the one lab at the north. I don't think he's quite got the metal to run 3 labs at once. Only 18 metal per second definitely won't get you very far.
Yeah.
Where it can make sense to build a bot lab is if you're saying T2 vehicles and you want something to take shots for you, then making a bot lab to use as spam can be useful. But at this stage of the game, there isn't really going to be a benefit from having bots and vehicles together.
Yeah, and to that point of taking damage for your tanks, your stouts exist almost solely for that purpose, and they will do a better job than those units. The reason that you use tick spam and pawn spam in late game is because you're able to absorb a very high damage shot with a very low cost unit. A Juggernaut laser killing a pawn is great. A Juggernaut laser killing a T2 vehicle is not so great. In this case, it's just going to be putting units in front for very little value, and with the amount of metal and build power, these 3 labs are kicking out units at a very slow rate, and we've got and there's a lot of reclaim that Pigz is yet to pick up.
He's actually just gone into resbots, so I do take back partially the building of the T1 lab. That is a good idea if you're going to get the bots out, but I would go straight back into reclaiming it after getting the resbots out to keep that economy flowing. And he has forgotten to expand that eco. Maybe he'll go into the geo shortly.
Yeah,
we shall see.
Looks like the economy advantage has swung over to Black Death.
Yep.
He's had a couple of raids on mexes for Pigz. And he's been able to continue his slow expansion.
Yep, he's continuing on outwards, but Pigz is hopefully going to see it soon. And again, no air defenses in this area. So this bottom section. This is where I'd like to see Pigz use his aircraft. He would be very, very capable of dealing some damage down there. Even just taking out the builder and the mexes.
Oh, here we go.
We've got a raid coming in on the top corner.
Yep, able to punch through those tanks. Pigz not reacting, and now we have 3 pawns running down the eco. Thankfully, even if he does take out a lot of that wind, the geo will counteract that. So this isn't the end of the world, provided he deals with them. Engagement coming in, Pigz not microing, so his spread out units able to being destroyed by the clumped units of Black Death. So
good
big attack coming on
here,
in.
while Pigz is occupied in the corner to then come crashing through the front line with the Centurions.
Yep. Good play, but unfortunately not going to be able to push in, and another large metal donation to Pigz, keeping him in the game. And with the geo up, no, the damage that was done is very minor. Pig's unable to defend that because of his investment into triple lab and units in the top corner here.
I'm still perplexed as to who's going to win this. Black,
It's
obviously a very new player, and he's turtling quite a bit, but he is going for these raids. Once you get a bunch of units up, typical of people who play these RTSs against AI often. I can see he's going for the T2 transition now, doing a great job to reclaim the T1 lab to have the money to go into that transition, and we should see it come up in about a minute or two.
Yep.
Although we do have a push on the north.
Yep, and
Black Death
good
is seeing and
reaction getting
reacting
those
to.
units in. You actually need to pause your construction turrets during this because energy is going to be at an all-time low, and also a four of Black Death's remaining units are anti-air, so not a great engagement there at all. When you have the defensive advantage, fighting in and amongst your LLTs is a very good idea. Just the extra little bit of damage is good. Turns out this bot lab is actually doing quite some work kicking units out. I still would have preferred not to see so many labs out, but unfortunately Black Death doing that T2 transition at the exact wrong time, so
Pretty much just all funded by Reclaim as well. That Pigz is doing very well to reclaim most of the metal on his line by his commander, but he's forgot to use the Lazarus to reclaim the remaining 2,000-ish metal that's in his base.
Yep. So we've got
T2
T2
is up
out,
for
and
Black
we're
Death.
getting a gunslinger and a hound. We need to see quite a few more than just the two. Needs to hit that repeat command if that's the build queue he wants.
It would have been good to see Pigz continue his push that was coming in from that northern side.
We've got a air raid coming down on the 3 mechs point at the bottom of the map. Very, very good by Pigz. He's trying to target those mechs, which is exactly what you want to do. Those gunships will eventually fall to the LLTs, but if you're able to take out the builder and the LLTs, then they will have served their purpose, because it will take Black Death too long to get another builder out there. And having seen the T2 transition, he will be limited on T1 builders. So metal income now heavily in the advantage of Pigz. LLT wall coming up for Pigz.
Whereabouts is that? I haven't seen it up top.
Up top.
There you go.
And finally, the Lazarus actually, it's not even the Lazarus. It's a T1. It's a T1 builder coming in to get all of that metal reclaimed. So Pigz is about to have a bit of an army swing, and we'll see whether or not the handful of T2 units are enough to push Pigz back. That gunslinger working effectively. The comm on the front line, very powerful unit. The LLTs doing work, even though a few of them got taken out. That was a good first hold by Black Death, and the longer he has to get those T2 units out, the better.
Those gunslingers are an amazing initial T2 unit with high health, 1700 I think they start with.
They also have auto repair, so they're almost always ready between fights. Big attack coming from the top side from Pigz. Need to get those hounds firing, need to get those Centurions in front. Pigz will hopefully send those units in, but that is some serious eco damage. In fact, if Pigz keeps pushing, that is going to be the entirety of Black Death's eco, and that means that that makes it Pigz game to lose at this point. Huge damage, so that's all of Black Death's energy, which is going to make it extremely hard to bounce back from this, and even losing a couple of those T2 units by pushing them in too close. So, and T2 lab goes down as well. Big damage. And now Pigz just needs to get the units for the cleanup, and this will be a Game 2 victory for Pigz.
No energy to fire from these LLTs.
Yep. So and no energy for D-gun, which is what is most needed at the moment. Having a builder over here.
Just select everything he's got and send it in.
Yep. sometimes a Hail Mary play is all you've got left to. Something which I would be doing is instead of getting that second nettle, I would be getting the Geo built, or trying to get the Geo built. It's a long shot, but you don't need metal right now. You need energy.
Black Death going into Souls is the right choice while energy is so low.
Yep.
Having zero zero energy cost to build.
Yep. But while all this is happening, Pigz is building up more forces in this top section over here, ignoring somewhat his labs down here. A couple vehicles coming out, but nothing too crazy. That extra lab definitely could have been reclaimed after those Lazarus. Lazarus finally going around reclaiming metal. And looks like this is going to be a Pigz victory.
Whilst we're waiting for the inevitable, how would you have liked to seen Black Death defend against the army before? What do you think he could have done differently to stop that push that took out his eco?
Well, realistically, by that point, it was he'd invested in a T2 lab, so he didn't have the units to stop it. A T2 transition is a very, very rough time because you put 3,000 metal that your enemy puts into units into a lab. The way that you stop that sort of attack is by preventing it from happening in the first place. With Pigz' huge metal investment into triple lab, into air, the opportunity to go around and clean up the map, even with a small number of units, was immense. But that's a much harder thing to do than it is to say.
If nothing else, it would have been good to see Black Death scout that top corner because he'd known that it had been there for a while because it was on his radars. If nothing else, so that he knew that he was what he was dealing with there.
Yep, and that is GG. Let's have a quick look at the stats. So, metal excess, very good for both players, and energy excess, pretty good. Still reasonably high, but not so bad. Gonna have a quick jump in and look at the graphs. Metal produced was actually quite even across the total of the game. You can see the jumps where all of the metal reclaim happened. Definitely could have been some opportunity for earlier reclaim, but that's what pulled Pigz ahead in the metal department at the end. It was the fighting that happened on his side of the base. And then for the energy produced, that one definitely started in Black Death's favor and continued. Is that energy produced? Yep, energy produced started in Black Death's favor and maintained throughout the whole game, just due to those earlier wind farms.
And the continuous building as well.
Yeah.
It's important to make sure you've always got something building your eco, expanding your eco when you've got the metal for it.
Yep.
Which was had in this game with so many mex points held. So Black Death, Pigz, how do you guys think you went? It was back and forth. We actually didn't know who was going to win for quite some time there. Well done, Pigz. Your win, you're now 1-1. How was it?
No, I didn't like it.
You did very well with your Centurion push.
But no, I thought, oh, he's not going to have any so that, then I found out he had so then I thought I'll eat it back up again. Might as well. There's not going to be nothing with it. And I was trying to. I mean, he could have taken me early. It was then pawns that again. And he just stopped, and he obviously took some of the eco out, and then I had to rebuild it again. But I think what did it was the hidden base at the top that he never scouted.
Well, he did actually have the radar up and could see that there were mexes built up there, but just never went north to see that after the Sneaky Pete was built, there was more built in that area afterwards. So well done hiding that. We were all commentating, saying that we didn't love that. That base up there having already 2 other labs in your main base, but then we bid our words when that was probably the deciding factor.
I still don't disagree with saying that having the base up there wasn't. It was too many, but it was too many labs at the same time. You had 3. You had bot lab in your base, a bot lab in the top, and a vehicle lab. Even though it got you the win, if you'd just built a couple of build turrets and gone heavily into tanks, the money you could have funneled into tanks would have given you such a strong push across the middle. I think you might have been able to take the game a little earlier. One of the moments that I want to bring attention to, Black Death, your big push that made it all the way into Pigz' base. The one thing that stopped you from winning right there was that you let the pawns go in before the Centurions had caught up because of their different move speeds. If that one thing had changed, you'd have taken Pigz' whole base. Guarantee it. So
With
it was
that, everyone,
super close.
we thank everyone for watching, and if you would like to support us, please hit the subscribe button. If you have any replays that you'd like us to cast, join our Discord. You can see a link in the description of the video below, and you can drop your replays into the replays tab in our Discord. Thank you everyone for watching, and we hope to see you next time.
Catch you next time.